Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christina. Today, Sophie, Marcus, and I are going to talk about rites of passage around the world. And we're going to start off with an odd, prevalent phenomenon in modern society. It seems that there are more and more adults choosing to stay home, living with their parents, even well into their 20s and 30s, instead of going out, get a job, and be independent. In the UK, this phenomenon has given rise to the term NEET, N-E-E-T, an acronym that stands for not in employment, education, or training. Similar terms have been coined in different countries, indicating that this phenomenon is not attributed or cannot be attributed to individuals only, but a larger part of society may have to do with it. If we compare ancient and modern societies, we see that in rites of passage that help people transform and transition into their adult role. However, those traditions have been largely lost in the modern world. As a result, people seem to have trouble growing up. So what are rites of passage? They are rituals marking a person's transition from adolescence to adulthood. Typically, rites of passage can be divided into 3 stages. And if you're familiar with comparative mythology, you may have heard of the cycle of mythology by Professor Joseph Campbell. And if you look at the 3 stages of rites of passage, they actually bear a striking resemblance to the hero's journey in mythology. First, separation. Before people cross over into adulthood, they need to abandon their past life, their old identity, and next they have to go through some kind of ordeal, which usually involves painful or even traumatic experience so that they can prove their courage. For example, passages around the world, young people might be required to for example, endure great physical and mental pain or stress. For example, getting tattoos, getting body piercing, or even getting bitten by poisonous bugs. Only when they can endure the pain and suffering and complete the challenges can they then return to the society as a mature adult and function as a productive member of the society. Suffering is a necessary part of the initiation rites. We all need to experience the near-death experience of pain so that we can be reborn into a new person with a new identity and ready to take on the challenges of real life. So next we're going to take a look at different rites of passages around the world, and we're going to have Sophie talk about Taiwanese traditions.
Okay, thanks Christina. First we're going to take a look at rites of passage for Taiwanese Aborigines. Like their culture, their rites of passage have very close ties to nature, and different tribes have different ideas of when their youngsters come to age. For example, 16 to 20 years old. Men are considered adults when they are able to hunt, while women reach maturity after their first menstruation. To be able to hunt means that you are brave enough to take on the challenges of nature and overcome them. For example, the Paiwan and Atayal tribes, the youngsters have to go hunting and bring back a deer or boar to prove their worth. The Atayal tribe even hunts for human heads. The Ami people who live in the south have fishing competitions instead of hunting. And when they return home, they are welcomed by their sisters and mothers and presented with new clothes that represent their new identity. Being able to tolerate pain also is an expression of maturity. For example, the Rukai youngsters have to fast for 5 days before they are whipped by elders with a certain kind of plant to cleanse their unclean body. In the Atayal tribe, they earn the privilege to be tattooed after they prove that they are skilled hunters or are very good at weaving. Women who get married also have the privilege to be tattooed on the cheeks. The Bunam people have to pull out their 2 front teeth between the ages of 13 to 16 because this is considered a symbol of beauty. Okay, now that we've looked at some examples in Taiwan, let's move on to the island nation of Vanuatu in the South Pacific Ocean. Let's welcome Marcus.
Thank you, Sophie. In Vanuatu, the people there practice a ritual called land diving, where they build a tower made of wood sticks about 100 feet tall, and then 5 men from the village will climb to the top of the tower, and one of the men will take the vine and he'll tie it to his ankle, and he'll tie the other side to the top of the tower before he jumps. And when he jumps, he'll reach speeds of at most 45 miles per hour, very fast. It's very dangerous, and if the vine is not measured to an exact length, if it's too short or too long, it can lead to serious injuries or even death. There are 2 main reasons that they practice this ritual. The first is it's a sacrifice to their gods to ensure a bountiful yam crop in that spring. The second reason is it's a passage into manhood. It's a rite of passage. Young boys, as young as 5 years old, will start to jump from low heights. As they get older, they will jump from increasingly higher heights to express their courage and their transition into adulthood. Do I have any volunteers? Anyone willing to jump? If not, I might have to make one of my 2 colleagues jump for me. One of you want to take a leap? Okay, well, we'll have to finish the presentation before we make anyone jump. But what is it that's in common between these different rites of passage? What common themes do they have? One thing I notice is that each of these rites of passage expect young people to leave behind their old life and enter a new self.
Yes, and they need to perform extraordinary feats and overcome great physical pain or stress in order to prove that they have what it takes to be an adult.
To be an adult means that you are willing to take risks. You are willing to step out into the unknown. Whether this means that you go hunting or brave physical pain or even jump up towers.
Okay, so maybe we don't need to jump off towers anymore. But what can we learn from these rites of passage?
I think we can learn a lot. I think it's important that the society and parents create an open environment for kids or young people to allow them to take on challenges and make mistakes and learn from trial and error so that eventually they can learn to be an adult and take responsibility for their lives.
We should encourage our children to go explore the world, even though this means that they might get hurt or fail, because after they overcome these obstacles, they will grow into better and stronger people. And this is the true meaning of growing up. And this is what children in our society nowadays need to do.
That's a wonderful point, Sophie. So on that note, though, Marcus, don't you think it's about time that you get off your parents' couch?
Yeah, stop taking money from your parents.
Yeah.
Oh, is that how it is, Christina?
Right.
You don't think it's time that you leap into a new life?
No.
We do have a stage right here.
Okay, guys. Let's be grown-ups about this, okay? We can settle this backstage later, but first we need to wrap up our presentation. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you.